Hello everyone, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you are all having a great day to start things off. Fidelity Investments CEO Abigail Johnson has revealed that the company is working on a number of cryptocurrency and blockchain related products and offerings, with their release tentatively fixed for some time before the end of this year. Speaking on Friday at the Boston FinTech Week conference, Johnson declined to go into any specifics regarding what exactly Fidelity is working on in the crypto space, but investors and other market participants are likely to pay close attention to subsequent Fidelity announcement as it continues to build a reputation as one of the most crypto positive large financial services in the world. Speaking about Fidelity's plans for moving into the cryptocurrency space, Johnson said, "We've got a few things underway, a few things that are partially done, but also kind of on the shelf because it's not really ready at the time. We hope to have some things to announce by the end of this year," end quote. The announcement will come as welcome news to crypto markets, which continue to anticipate the entry of large institutional investments that by and large has not taken place as of yet. In a market with a total cap still below $300 billion, despite a surfeit of publicity and investment sentiment, Fidelity has consistently been of the few large firms that has repeatedly and openly signaled its interest. Here's a photo of them. In June, CCN reported that the company was rumored to be at work on a crypto exchange. In the same month, the company is said to have expressed interest in hiring a fund manager to run a new cryptocurrency fund. Neither of these rumors have been confirmed by the company. After launching in 2015, the company's public charity organization Fidelity Charitable also raised nearly $6 million in crypto donations in only the first 6 months of 2017. Johnson also stated that while the company is still exploring uses for crypto and blockchain technology and modifying many ideas along the way, its goal is to place the needs of the market before the technology. She said, What we started was building a long list of use cases for either Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other cryptocurrencies, or potentially just raw blockchain technology. Most of them have been scrapped by now, or at least put on the shelf. The things that actually survived were not the things I think necessarily were expected. We were trying to listen to the marketplace and anticipate what would make sense. Despite the growth of the cryptocurrencies and digital currency, the Fidelity CEO still maintained that the company does not expect financial services to be completely taken over by the electronic offerings in the future, and that this will inform Fidelity's decision going forward. A lot of people, I think it's interesting that so many companies and institutions have decided to get into cryptocurrencies, and they keep mimicking this kind of same exact thing that they say they think it has a future. They definitely want to get into it. They won't say what they're going to do when they're inside of it, but they don't think that it's going to ever completely take over, or that it won't move them out of the space, if that kind of makes a lot of sense. It's kind of weird. Like, they're all joining over to its side, but they all saying that they don't think that it'll completely take over. Logically, crypto mathematically will eventually take over, even if it takes us around 150 years. But the advent of all these companies coming forward talking about that they're definitely going to be entering the cryptocurrency space will only help to legitimize, if you will, crypto as a whole. And I'm fairly certain now, when we've had so much other news about the other analysts and people in the space who keep saying that they believe that cryptocurrency will be like the dominant thing by the year 2022, it seems a bit more realistic the further that we go along. We get major names like Fidelity actually getting into the space. For those who do not know what Fidelity actually is, Fidelity, more or less kind of in the middle, is like a retirement type thing. You know, it's major like in investing in stuff like that. But they're one of the most well-known retirement and investing companies in the entire world. So the fact that they're even talking about getting into it, and the fact that we have confirmation that they're going to get into it, I'm going to assume that what they're probably going to start out with is some type of retirement funds. Maybe I want to say futures or an ETF, but I feel like it's going to be a bit like a softer entry than other people. And whatever that it ends up being, you may have also noticed that during the last couple of months, there's been like a huge uptick in the amount of companies who are constantly saying that they're not only looking to get into the cryptocurrency space, but they're looking into it for like retirement accounts and other things like that. Yeah, there was also something else before where we had news it had to be around April or May, that other universities, especially the ones in the States, as they are more or less for profit, are also looking into thinking about, they're not 100% certain, because, no one can ever say 100% because of liability and what have you, that they said that possibly they're thinking of getting into the cryptocurrency space in order to create funds that are denominated in crypto as well, which is going to be very interesting, because one of the main ideas is that the more big players that get into the game, the more the smaller players, the ones who are trying to reach the top branch, but they just don't have the length and they don't have the arm span to do it, they're going to try to get into crypto when they see that the other major people are getting into the game. So when you have things like Fidelity or the New York Stock Exchange or other players are going to now get interested in crypto when they probably just weren't even paying attention before. But the fact that you have one of the largest institutions in the entire world when it comes to like retirement funds and retirement planning and planning on getting older and how much money to save and stuff like that, if they announce at some point, them getting into crypto tells me maybe that they're probably going to get into something physical, i.e. actually holding the asset itself. I don't see them really finding a way to be able to, how do I say this? Invest long-term in cryptocurrencies if they're doing swaps. If they're doing daily futures or monthly futures or whatever the case might be, I don't see, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm thinking too big or too optimistic about it, but I have a feeling that I want to say, if not by the end of this year, whenever we get some type of official statement from Fidelity as to what they're going to do, I want to say maybe the middle or the end of 2019, we're going to start hearing about a lot of institutions who are holding cryptocurrencies physically, i.e. they have the actual asset somewhere on a computer hidden under their bed or something like that. And this is going to cause a major move in the market, simply because when you get institutions talking about that they're no longer just swapping papers back and forth or sending numbers back and forth on a computer that aren't involving the blockchain, instead they're holding the cryptocurrency, meaning that every single year that they're going to be buying more and more in order to solidify not only their place in the market, but also to make sure that their retirement funds are stronger than other companies. All the other retirement companies are going to really dive into the market as deep as they possibly can. And I've said before, I think it's really funny how many people just aren't paying attention to the market right now at all, especially since prices are down. A lot of people have been commenting and noting that crypto's dead, crypto's over with, altcoins are never going to come back. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. When we get final news of what Fidelity is going to be doing, and especially if we find out that they're going to be holding physical crypto, that is going to move the entire market, because every other small player, and even the larger players, or who are just as large as Fidelity, who have not thought about getting into the cryptocurrency space, will definitely start buying up as much as they can, because nobody wants to be left behind, especially when you start getting valuations that within the next couple of years we're going to be in the $1 trillion market range. How much clout and how amazing would your investment institution be if you can note that each fund holds about 100 Bitcoin, and you've seen these profits over the last couple of years. Many people would start throwing their money at you in order to be able to invest with you, which would then increase the profits of the company who's actually getting into it. It's all very exciting, and I've seen this coming from a mile away, but it's nice to hear that we finally have at least a bit of confirmation that all this stuff is going to start happening relatively soon. Next up, on the 19th of September, Okcoin announced that it has listed 5 new cryptocurrencies on this exchange. They are XRP, Cardano, Stellar, Zcash, and 0x. The virtual currencies will be paired with the US dollar, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. I wonder if you all caught on, once I said a couple of things. The exchange further states that the USA traders and investors will be able to buy and sell the above pairs securely through Okcoin's licensed exchange. However, the Fiat token pairing will only be available to the Californian residents. Tim Bin, the CEO of Okcoin USA, spoke about the onboarding of the new virtual currencies. He said, "We are very pleased to welcome these 5 new currencies and all the communities that trade them. As we build out the broadest set of financial products on a globally regulated exchange, we are committed to expanding the trading pairs for our customers while bringing tokens to the exchange that offer utility, value, and demonstrate use cases. Today's announcement signifies a giant step forward for the entire ecosystem," end quote. When it comes to the entire Californian thing, for those who are not paying attention or who didn't really see the other videos, I had to be 4 or 5 videos about the situation right now. For those who don't live in the States, It's kind of, the United States, it kind of sounds how it is. Every single state has their own different laws, so they probably only received the proper paperwork from the first state, but I assume at some point they're going to be officially rolling this out for every other state. But still pay attention. Even if it was just California, maybe still pay attention. This talks about the prices of the coins, not really important. Earlier this month, Okcoin announced its expansion into 20 more US states. They also revealed that the company has been working closely with the regulators and following research regulations in every state it has expanded to ensure that they comply with federal and state convertible virtual currency rules. Without reading much further, you kind of get which coin that they added. How weird is it? First of all, this is their actual website. I clicked around a little bit. They've listed the coin. I've never used Okcoin myself. Like I always say, I've never used it. But if you have used Okcoin, please tell people how it is, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if it was confusing, if it was simple to use, and also tell people if you plan on signing up for it or have signed up for it right now. If within like a day or two, or maybe even like a week, if you actually like the platform, to tell other people if this is something that they should do. What's interesting to note, at least for me, was, and I hope you got it as I was reading through it, all other coins aside, the fact that they have added XRP, that they are based, or rather this new exchange that they have opened is in the United States, and there are going to be fiat pairings for XRP within the state of California, which is in the United States, kind of tells us that there's one crypto exchange out there that has been not only beating around the bush, but has been lying for quite some time. This is now, I think, the fourth exchange that has opened up in the United States that has launched multiple different coins. Interesting to note as well that these are also the coins that have been announced that could potentially be on Coinbase. I think Zcash has also been dropped on Gemini. Just interesting to note which coin has been left out by one company. It has to do with money. Just gonna leave it at that. But the point is, this is one great news that we have other exchanges for a long time. I don't know exactly what the reasoning was behind it, but for some reason we only had Coinbase, and I think we have like 3 or 4 other major quote unquote exchanges that are now inside of the United States. But now we have a whole bunch of other ones who are trying to, or rather already are opening up their doors. And this is very nice to hear, so, because I'm sure you were all frustrated, like, XRP aside completely. If you have any of these other coins, I'm pretty sure you wanted to buy or sell or trade or have access to them, especially if you live in the United States. So it's nice to hear that, one, they are regulated, have been working with regulators, and there's no problem with any of the coins that they have listed in the United States. But very good for Okcoin. I think this is Okcoin, Bittrex. Oh gosh, I can't remember the other ones who have also launched within the last 2 months or something like that. I think Binance? No, Binance isn't in the States yet. Anyway, let's move on. This is kind of like an exchange video. It's as I'm reading through everything, I'm like, oh, this is just about exchanges. Kakao affiliate Dunamu, the operator of major South Korean crypto exchange Upbit, plans to open a Singapore-based exchange next month. Local news outlet Yonhap News reported on the 19th of September. According to Yonhap, Dunamu already set up a branch in Singapore this February as part of its active push to expand across the Asian market. While the exact date of the Singapore exchange launch remains to be finalized, the firm told Yonhap that the service will go live as of early October. Kim Koo-kyeon, head of Upbit's existing Singapore branch, is quoted as saying, "As Singapore has proactively supported blockchain technology, our advancement into the nation will help us secure many chances to lead a variety of relevant projects and to have global competitiveness," end quote. Upbit has seen a surge in trading volumes, which are up 53% on the day, according to CoinMarketCap. As of press time, the exchange is ranked the 10th largest crypto exchange globally, seeing around 241 million in trades over the 24-hour period. This is another exchange that has announced that they are launching in Singapore, which is very great because Singapore has been, thank goodness, one of the most crypto-friendly places in the entire world. Once again, it's interesting to note that some of the richest countries in the entire world are also like the first ones to really adopt this. There are other rich countries in the world that are kind of taking their time, and it's kind of frustrating. Whatever the case might be, I still predict myself that what's going to end up happening is if we don't get some type of a regulatory clarity from certain other countries, many other countries are going to start to take over, simply because if you can choose between a country that doesn't like what you're doing, or that accepts what you're doing, or that gives you a lower tax rate, or sometimes doesn't even tax you at all. And maybe, what was the other, there's a country in Europe, they were like that they planned on crypto exchanges in the country won't be taxed for like 5 years or something like that. And even when they do tax them, I think their tax will be like 19%. It's just absolutely insane. Very good to hear that there's a lot of companies who are actually moving to Singapore. This is going to be very significant in the future, as Singapore is extremely rich. So the people there tend to have influence, and I'm pretty sure, like I said, when other major players get into the game, smaller countries will also start to take notice and realize that it is something monetarily beneficial to them. And this is when they will start to open up their doors to crypto as well. But the other countries that were first will also be benefiting the most from the not only the price fluctuations, but also the money that's going to be flowing into their countries because of people trying to get into the cryptocurrency game as well. Next up, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, Commissioner Hester Peirce has stated that the government should not limit the emergence of new products in the crypto market based on the perceived weakness of Bitcoin. According to Peirce, the SEC should not force crypto markets to be subjected to comprehensive government regulation just to deploy products on top of the market. She explained, the commission should not default to a demand that the crypto markets be subject to the comprehensive government regulation as a precondition to allowing products linked to those markets to be traded in markets that we regulate, end quote. Peirce, often characterized as Crypto Mom, emphasized that the rejection of the Winklevoss Bitcoin Trust Exchange Traded Fund, or their ETF, was enforced due to the SEC's belief that Bitcoin markets have flaws relating to infrastructure. The issue of Peirce with the decision of the SEC, which she explicitly described through a letter of dissent, is that the SEC justified the rejection of the Winklevoss ETF by stating that the evaluation of Bitcoin or blockchain technology as an investment or innovation was not involved in the process of disapproving the ETF. In simpler terms, the SEC stated that the denial of the Winklevoss ETF had no connection to the SEC's valuation or evaluation of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as an asset class. I'll try and get back to that in a couple of seconds. But Peirce stated that the rejection of the Winklevoss ETF demonstrated the SEC's focus on Bitcoin markets instead of the ETF itself. The commissioner's order included an assurance that the disapproval does not rest on an evaluation of whether Bitcoin or blockchain technology more generally has utility or value as an innovation or an investment. The order, however, seemed to do almost that. It focused on the alleged flaws with the Bitcoin markets rather than on whether the exchange proposing the trades shares of the trust had taken steps to ensure the orderly trading of those shares. This was said by Peirce. If the SEC continues to establish its focus on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets rather than the products or instruments launched on top of the market's ETFs, then a publicly tradable instrument approved by the SEC could never hit U.S. markets. Where do I even begin? So what it comes down to is that the SEC has a number of jobs or things that they are allowed to do. The point of the SEC is, in essence, to protect investors, whether they be institutional or retail investors, as they call the smaller people in the market. They call us retail investors. The job of the SEC is to protect us, as it were, to give us information on what we are investing in and to let us know whether it is safe, whether it is unstable, whether they have deemed that this is something that people should be putting their money into, or whether your money is going to be safe. This is why they make sure that anyone who is issuing something that is a security, or what they consider a security, that they have registered with them and that the SEC has gone over all the paperwork to make sure that they are compliant. What they've been doing is that they've been trying to regulate the cryptocurrency market, which is not their job, and they're supposed to just be regulating the ETF that is being proposed for it. Bitcoin could be the most unstable thing in the entire world, but it's up to the SEC to make sure that the ETF is something that is legal, that is compliant, that is whatever they want to say in another letter. We've had 4 years of rejections for Bitcoin ETF simply because the SEC does not believe that Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market is stable. Therefore, they have knocked it down every single attempt. It's also interesting to note that I believe we have 10 days left. You can Google this. If you Google like SEC September 30th, that is supposed to be the day that we've been waiting for quite a couple of months now, that the SEC is supposed to tell us whether they are allowing the CBOE to have their Bitcoin ETF. That is supposed to be a physically held Bitcoin ETF, meaning that they actually have to have the physical Bitcoin, or rather they are holding the actual cryptocurrency in order to denominate the ETF. 10 days away. I am going to assume that the market is going to start losing its mind on the 27th, 28th, maybe even 29th. I think the market might get scared on the 29th. If we have approval, finally, the market's going to go nuts. I'm not holding my breath. I think what's happening is something, how do I say this nicely? The SEC and the US, for what it's worth, they keep taking 3 steps back when they could be jumping at least 5 steps every day. They are one of the few countries in the world. I don't know if this is all just a ploy. I don't know if this is just them having a very strong poker face, not trying to show any interest in the cryptocurrency space at all. As it stands right now, so many other institutions in the US have tried or are planning on getting into the cryptocurrency space. We have not heard any word yet from the SEC as to exactly what they're planning on doing with any cryptocurrency. We also had news a couple of days ago that from one of the heads in the SEC saying that what someone said before about Ethereum not being a security doesn't necessarily apply because it's not written in stone. He said, we're going to review every single thing that our people from the SEC have said about products over the last couple of months, and we're going to try and clarify something like that, which led a lot of people to believe that they could also be backtracking on what they said about Ethereum, as no one actually wrote this down on paper, and it was just the opinion of someone who was stating it. I'm very confused as to exactly what's going on with the SEC. I'm glad that we have at least someone in our corner. I don't call her crypto mom. I think that's when you Google around, like, people are actually just calling her crypto mom. I think it's quite interesting. We're going to have a moment in history, and I'm going to say relatively soon. By the end of this year, I think the markets will have grown tired of waiting for the SEC or the CFTC, and there's also one other letter combination organization out there, simply because it's taken too long. When we have people within the SEC complaining that the SEC is taking too long and that them knocking down or rejecting things isn't correct, that means that there's a problem. Usually if someone is not a whistleblower, but if they're kind of saying, hey, you made a huge mistake, that means that, like I've said before, this should have happened months ago. They knew exactly what they planned on doing. If they reject this Bitcoin ETF from the CBOE, then for me, at least, this is how I see things, me, myself. It just comes down to the manipulation of the markets, or them trying to act similarly to the government of South Korea, where they just don't want to give regulations because they are afraid of the market moving forward. They're afraid of legitimizing cryptocurrencies in some sort of way. Only time will tell. Like I said, I'm glad that we have at least one friendly voice within the SEC, but only time will tell. And my prediction is that by the time that the US gets it, other countries will have already gotten it, and the US will be trying to scrape forward as quickly as possible. We've heard so many other countries who are adopting not only blockchain, but also cryptos, and also talking about integrating them. And as far as we've had from the United States is that we've had like the stock exchange being like, oh, I want to do it. Or we have like Fidelity talking about, yeah, I'll buy a couple of it. But we need like this proper clarification that every other country has been giving us, except for the US of A. It's very frustrating. Last up, one of the world's largest crypto exchanges by trading volume wants to set up fiat to crypto trading platforms on almost every single continent. Binance founder and CEO Cao Changpeng closed out the first day of CoinDesk's Consensus Singapore event with a fireside chat where he discussed a range of topics, including how he grew Binance from a startup with a $15 million ICO to one of the world's largest crypto exchanges and his future vision for the platform. During the conversation with CoinDesk's Pete Rizzo, Cao indicated that by this time next year, he wants the company to launch 5 to 10 fiat to crypto exchanges, with ideally 2 per continent. These plans fall in line with Binance's current efforts to roll out an exchange in Singapore, once again Singapore, that supports local fiat to crypto trading services. Having conducted closed testing on Tuesday, CZ said he hopes the platform could be up and running within months, though he added that working with banks and regulators is much harder than just with cryptocurrencies, noting that this move appears to be a reversal to what Binance has been known for, which is crypto to crypto trading. Tsao admitted that the crypto market capitalization is still significantly lower than the traditional financial instruments, and this is simply because we do not have enough crypto exchanges that have the fiat pairings. Big thumbs up to Binance for not only talking about adding fiat pairings throughout multiple exchanges or, through Binance that they already are running, but the fact that they are trying to launch 5 to 10 fiat crypto exchanges and 2 per continent. I hope Binance succeeds, unless other cryptocurrency exchanges are just doing this and no one else really understands, or they're just not paying attention, or those cryptocurrency exchanges have not given us any type of information that they're planning on doing this as well. I hope Binance dominates the market by and by. Binance has been they're constantly in the news. They're constantly updating their Twitter. They're constantly on every single social media platform telling people exactly what's going on. There was some sort of someone made a news story a couple of weeks ago that someone had hacked into Binance and this has happened to Binance. Like 3.5 seconds later, they had already responded on their social media that it didn't happen, and they showed proof that it didn't happen. They're absolutely wonderful. And what's really interesting to note as well is that the CEO of Binance, when he has like discussions and stuff like that, he was talking at a conference recently, he said it's so interesting that Binance became so large. He said, I think there are only more or less a handful of people who are actually working as the heads of Binance and stuff like that. And he said they're constantly on planes. They're constantly traveling around the world to different events and to, talking to different governments and stuff like that. And he said even though they're constantly doing all this movement, the other crypto exchanges that we have out there can't even begin to match them. I like Binance. If you have not used Binance, I definitely recommend it. I love the entire platform. I love the simplicity of it. I love everything that they're doing. I love, they don't state exactly where they're trying to do this, but I am more than certain, or rather I hope, that they're going to try and open multiple in South America and also in Africa. South America and Africa are believed to be the places where crypto could completely take off simply because of hyperinflation that is happening within these countries. And I like he also stated as well that one of the major things is having to deal with banks and stuff like that. I have hopes and dreams and wishes that as Coinbase is actually trying to get a banking license, that they end up becoming like, because a lot of crypto exchanges or people trying to buy and sell and trade crypto in general have had their accounts stopped or frozen from their normal banks. As they try to get into the cryptocurrency space. I hope, me personally, that Coinbase is going to do something good with this, that they allow other corporations and entities and other people who are trying to open up bank accounts in order to trade cryptocurrencies, that they allow that to go through them, simply because this will also ease a lot of the tension right now, because there's so much backlash from banks who just haven't gotten it, banks don't understand, and this is once again my opinion, banks don't get that crypto is going to change them. People were asking me before, why am I so for XRP if I don't like banks? The point is that XRP is a cryptocurrency that's going to change banks. It's going to make banks quicker. It's going to make them more transparent. Everything is written on the ledger. Everyone can see exactly what's going on. This stops fraud. This stops all these other things. And when banks don't understand, as they are right now, that they're not going to exist the exact same way that they are right now in the next 5 or 6 years, I find it gloriously wonderful. I hope that crypto continues. I love the entire cryptocurrency space. I love everything that's happening within the cryptocurrency space. I love all the news that we constantly get from everything that's happening. We may have some days where things aren't as great as others, but rest assured, things are definitely moving forward, especially when you have places like Fidelity talking about getting into the cryptocurrency space because they're scared that they're going to lose profit. That's what it kind of comes down to. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Thank you once again for watching and or listening. I do appreciate it. Thank you once again, and I'll talk to you all soon. See you.